Hey, welcome to the fourth video for beginner theory, time signatures. Now, a time signature is written directly after the clef. So you'll have a piece of music, you have the clef, and then you'll have two numbers. So what are those two numbers? Those two numbers are a time signature. Okay, so it's time signatures represented by two numbers, X and Y. I'm just calling them X and Y. So the number at the top, which is X, represents how many beats there are in the bar, the number of beats. The Y, the bottom number, represents the type of beat that there are per bar. Okay, so when Y has three options, there are actually five options, but you're only going to be taught the three options. So Y, when Y equals 2, when the bottom note is 2, it means minimum beats. So each beat is a minimum. When Y equals 4, it means crotchet beats. When Y equals 8, it means quaver beats. So the most common time signature you'll see in music is 4/4. So this means number of beats, there are 4 beats, and the type of beats are crotchet beats. So by definition, this equals 4 crotchet beats per bar. Okay, now sometimes 4/4, I've written in brackets here, is represented by just a C. So it's just a C that stands for common time, because most music that you learn is written in 4/4 because it's a nice even beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I were to write the beats, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, separates a bar. So this is a bar line, and then refreshes again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the pulse of the music. It's not necessarily how the music will go in with the melody, it's just the pulse. So you got 2. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. So that's the beats, the pulse. So a lot of nursery rhymes are written in 4/4. Okay, so that means 4 crotchet beats per bar. So now we're going to try to make up a rhythm using the 4/4 meter. So when you're not doing pitch, we don't use a clef, we use 2 lines like this. So that represents its rhythm only. And we're going to do 4/4. So we need to equal in total 4 beats per bar. So to be creative, we're going to try 4 beats here, 4 bars worth. At the end of the bar, or at the end of piece, you need to represent the end with 2 bar lines. That's like the full stop in music. Okay, so you would have learnt from the last video the different note values. The semi-breathe was worth 4, dotted minim worth 3, minim worth 2, dotted crotchet worth 1.5, crotchet worth 1, dotted quaver worth half, quaver, dotted quavers worth 3/4, my mistake. Quaver is worth half, and the semi-quaver, which is worth 1/4. That's because we're using crotchet beats where the crotchet equals 1. Okay, so that's 1 beat. Alright, so let's make a rhythm. I'm going to randomly choose a note. I'll pick the minim. Okay, I have used up 2 beats in that bar. I need to have 4 beats in total. So I have 2 beats left to use. So what I could do, I could be a bit more creative. I could use the 1.5. I can use the dotted minim. So I've used up in total now 3.5 beats. All I have left is half a beat worth. Okay, so let's rub this out. Gotta do a bit of basic math. So 2 plus 1.5 plus a half equals 4. I need to have 4 beats worth in total. Okay, let's do something a little bit different now. It's good to turn the half beats into whole beats. So you notice that I've turned it into a whole beat by adding another half. Don't confuse yourself with a half and then a whole and then 3/4. That's just gonna take you forever to make rhythms. Okay, so if you want to use fraction notes, let's say you want to do 3/4. Okay, what would be a good value to pair with that to turn it into a whole number. Obviously, the quarter. So to turn into a quarter, you can add the semiquaver. So that turns into 1 beat. But we don't actually write it this way in music. Okay? This is where the, this is where the stem lines come in. So remember when I said you put 2 quavers together, it looks like this. So let's say you want a dotted quaver and then you want a semiquaver, you can put that line there. So here's 3/4 plus a quarter. Combined, that's 1 whole beat. Okay, so how many beats do I have left? I've used up 1 beat out of 4, so I have 3 beats left. Okay, so if I want to use 3 beats, I can, let's say I can use 4 semiquavers. 4/4 makes 1 whole. 1, 2, 3, 1 beat left. I can use a crotchet 4. So that's 1, that's 1, and that's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Alright. Now, I haven't used the dotted minim yet. That's worth 3 beats. I can also do this. Here's a half plus 2/4. A quaver and 2 semiquavers. That combines as 1. 3 plus 1 equals 4. And if you want to be boring, you can end it with a semibrief, takes up the entire bar because it's equal to 4. Now this is what I'm expecting to get an A. I want you to use as many different note values as you can. Of course, you don't just have to use notes, you can put rests in there as well. So if I want to just substitute a rest here, so remember the rest values. Here's a semi-brief rest. You don't have to have notes all the time, you can have silences. Dotted minim rest, dotted, oh that was bad, dotted crotchet rest, dotted quaver rest, and the semiquaver rest. Okay, so I can turn any of these, you can substitute these notes into rests. Let's say I want to turn this one into a rest. So if I use the half, I gotta substitute it with a rest there. I could turn maybe one of these. Yep, I could put a rest there. Crotchet rest. So I'm kind of putting silences, and I can turn that one into a rest if I wanted to. So the dotted minim rest is right there. Okay, so this is how the rhythm goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, oh, that's stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can make interesting rhythms with note values. So that is when Y equals 4 beats in the bar. So if you had 3, 4, obviously you would have to take away a beat in every bar. Now, what happens if we do, let's say, when Y equals 2? That means minim beats, okay? So draw your attention back to minim beats. Minim equals 1, which means you got to halve all these note values. They are now worth half. So you usually consider the the semi-brief as 4 beats. It is now worth only 2 beats. Okay? Because when we have 3, 2, that means 3 minim beats per bar. This is your beat. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So the minim is now, what usually is worth 2 is now worth 1. Okay, so you've got to halve all note values. So this is now 2. This is now 1.5. 1. 3/4. The crotchet's half. Dotted quaver is 3/8. Quaver, a quarter, semiquaver, and eighth. We've halved all note values. That's when y equals 2. Alright, so let's compose a rhythm using 3/2. We can use rests too. So I've used 1. Okay, I need 2 beats left. I can put a semi-breve in there. Plus 2 equals 3. We need total 3. I can put a crotchet, that's half. Remember, we like to turn half beats into whole beats. To make it simpler for yourself, you can put another one in there, so that equals 1 whole. 2. Then I can have quarters. 4 quarters makes 1. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And I'll use some rests now. You've got a minim beat. That's worth 1. That's half. So I can turn that half into a whole. And 3. I don't want to use minim. Yeah, I'll use minim. Okay. So that's 3 beats in total. You can do whatever you want as long as it totals to 3. So you've got half all beats. Okay, now we're going to have a look at when y equals 8. So this is when we're using quaver beats. So it means that the quaver is worth 1. So that means what's usually worth half is now worth 1. So you've got to double all values. So that means the semi-breve is now worth 8. Dotted minim is now worth 3. Minim is now worth 4. Oh, sorry. Dotted minim is usually worth 3. Now it's worth 6. I've got to double everything. Sorry. I'm bad at math too. Okay. Minim is now worth 4 because it's usually worth 2. Dotted crotchet is now worth 3 because 1.5 times 2 is 3. That's worth 2. That's worth 1 because the quaver rest 1. Quaver equals 1. And the semiquaver equals half. Okay. Oh, I didn't do the dotted quaver. Alright, the dotted quaver is 1.5. And the quaver is 1, and the semiquaver is a half. Same with the rests. Semi-breve rest, dotted minim rest, crotchet rest, dotted crotchet rest, crotchet, dotted quaver, quaver, semi-quaver. You should have the table. Remember the table we did in the past where we had y equals 2, y equals 8, 4, y equals 8, and you had those values. You need to revise this table. Okay. All right. 6, 8. What does 6, 8 mean? 6, 8. Remember the top number means number of beats. The 8 above means type of beats. So 6, 8 equals 6 quaver beats per bar. Okay. So this is what 6 quavers looks like. They're grouped in 2 because 6, 8 is a compound duple time. 1 ender, 2 ender. So this is what the pulse is like. 1 ender, 2 ender, 1 ender, 2 ender, etc. So let's create a rhythm using 6, 8. You need a total 6 in value. So I can use a crotchet that's worth 2 plus 1. And then I could use the dotted crotchet, which is 3 equals 6. Oops, didn't mean to do a double bar line. Okay. What would take up the entire bar has to be worth 6 in total. The dotted minim will take up the entire bar. Let's use some rests here. What I could do is I could cheat. I can substitute one of these into rests and put quaver there. I can do a crotchet rest here, do a quaver, because that's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 equals 6. Then I can, we cannot use a semi-brief because you can't put 8 beats in the bar, you can only put 6 in total. I can use a 4 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 beats left. I can do a crotchet. The end. So that's 6, 8. Okay. Now time signatures. So we talked about putting note values into bars with tone number of beats. Now I need to talk about common time, simple time, and compound time. Okay. So simple time. We've got simple, duple, triple, and quadruple. We've also got compound, duple, triple, and quadruple. Okay. Simple duple means that there are 2 beats in a bar, and all the beats that are in simple time are divisible by 2. Compound time means the beats are divisible by 3. Okay, duple. So anything with a 2 on top when x equals 2 is simple duple. So there's 2 beats in the bar. When x equals 3, x equals 4. So anything like example 2, 2, 2 minim beats, 2 crotchet beats, 2 quaver beats, they are simple duple time. Simple triple time, 3, 2, 3 minim beats, 3 crotchet beats, 3 quaver beats, they are simple triple time. Quadruple, simple quadruple is 4 minim beats, 4 crotchet beats, 4 quaver beats. So what do I mean by divisible by 2? So we'll look at the 4 for example again. Now look at these 4 beats here. I can divide those 4 beats into 2 quavers each. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, I can count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's what I mean by divisible by 2. Okay, compound duple. Compound duple is when x equals 6. So anything like 6 minim beats, 6 crotchet beats, 6 quaver beats. The most common is 6 quaver beats. Triple when the top number is 9. Example, 9 minim beats, 9 crotchet beats, 9 quaver beats. Quadruple when x equals 12. 12 minim beats, 12 crotchet beats, 12 semi-quaver beats. Okay, so what do I mean by divisible by 3? You saw the 6, 8 example. If you were to look at the beats, just the beats, here's 1 and here's 2. They're represented by dotted crotchet beats. There's beat number 1, beat number 2. That's why it's duple. 9, 8. We'll just have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. That's why it's compound triple. And 12, 8, you have 4 of them. And they're all divisible by 3 because if I subdivided these beats, this is what they look like. They are divisible by 3 because 3 quavers, which are half each, 3 half notes makes 1 1/2. The dotted crotchets 1 1/2. So I subdivide these beats too. Like that. And how do we count this? 1 and 2 and so instead of going 1 and 2 and, we go 1 then 2 and if you did triple, 1 then 2 and 3 and 1 then 2 and 3 and quadruple, 1 then 2 and 3 and 4 and can you see how much more compound than it is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's what makes compound time. It's divisible by 3. Simple and compound. Gotta know the difference. That is all for time signatures. Thank you all.